favorite notebook.
No,
Why?
because I have executive privilege.
What's executive privilege?
Executive privilege is the presidential power to hold information from Congress. The Constitution doesn't actually say anything about it, but the government has made it an implied power of the president. It is a controversial topic because no one really knows how far a president can go in retaining information because of this power. There's no doubt that presidents and their staffs have secrecy needs and that these decision makers must be able to talk in private safely. But many people question whether the presidents have the right to withhold documents and testimony in congressional investigations and judicial proceedings.
George Washington, the great war general and the first president of the United States, had a failed military operation against the Native Americans. Congress asked for records and testimonies from White House officials about what had happened. Washington and the cabinet decided that a president has the right to refuse to share information in order to protect the nation. He also said the House had no right to see the Jay Treaty, but later backed down and shared the treaty and the information about the military operation. This set the precedent that the president had the power of executive privilege. President Dwight D. Eisenhower was the one who had coined the term executive privilege. He had used it 44 times during his presidency. During the Red Scare, Eisenhower prevented his cabinet members from being questioned in the McCarthy Army hearings. He wanted to continue the tradition of allowing advisors to speak freely without the threat of a subpoena. Some others, including President Lyndon B. Johnson, believed that Eisenhower went too far with executive privilege. Johnson said that if his administration were to use executive privilege, he would be the one to invoke it, much like his predecessor, John F. Kennedy. Both presidents used it sparingly.
President Nixon brought executive privilege into the political forefront. He attempted to use the privilege in order to protect himself along with the carried information during the Watergate scandal. In the landmark Supreme Court case, U.S. v. Nixon, the Supreme Court unanimously declared that executive privilege is constitutional and sometimes necessary for national security. However, the courts determined that a prosecutor's needs outweighed a president's confidentiality. If requested documents and testimonies are a key part of an investigation, then they must be brought forward. The Watergate tapes were turned over to the prosecutor and Nixon resigned. This led future presidents to use the privilege sparingly. President Obama's most famous use of executive privilege came during the Fast and Furious scandal. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms had an operation to sell guns to Mexico, hoping to track those weapons to major drug cartels and take it down. But they lost the location of guns, and a Border Patrol agent was later killed with one. Representative Darrell Issa and Senator Chuck Grassley asked people about the operation to determine what went wrong. Obama and Attorney General Eric Holder both said that they did not know about it until a few weeks prior to the killing and did not authorize it. Obama had shared documents but asserted his executive privilege to keep them private. Much like Richard Nixon and Bill Clinton, Obama's claim of executive privilege was rejected by a federal court, and the documents were turned over.
Clearly, in the last half-century, executive privilege has lost some of its power, because using this power appears less like protecting the public interest and more like hiding it from the public to protect reputations. Even though executive privilege is less trusted after several defeats in court over the years, history indicates that President Trump and future presidents will continue to call upon this power.